Hello everyone. This video presents a notable event that happened on each day from the past week in history. On November 3rd, 1986, a Lebanese magazine reported that the US had been selling weapons to Iran as part of a negotiation to get 7 Americans released in Lebanon. President Reagan, as part of his tough guy image as a presidential candidate, had repeated a line from U.S. leaders since Nixon that there will be no negotiation with terrorists of any kind. Reagan, however, appeared outed as dealing with terrorists in violation of U.S. law in the Iran-Contra scandal, dealing with Iran, a state sponsor of terrorists. Reagan's team was allegedly even negotiating with terrorists before he even took office. Reagan is not the only U.S. president to go against the no deals with terrorists mantra, as Presidents G.W. Bush, Obama, and Trump found themselves negotiating with terrorists on various occasions, while President Biden found out the hard way when the U.S. flubbed the Afghanistan withdrawal that deals with terrorists are problematic. On November 4th, 1960, Dr. Jane Goodall observed chimpanzees creating and using tools, behavior previously believed to be limited to human beings. Goodall's stunning discovery took place in what is now Tanzania. While many animals use various objects as tools, actually modifying an object into a useful tool is a bit rarer. Chimps even make spears for hunting bush babies and monkeys, and their use of tools has been documented to go back thousands of years. Other animals using tools include sea otters using rocks to break open shellfish, elephants using branches as fly swatters, orangutans making whistles, multiple fish-eating birds that use lures to attract fish within catchable range, dogs dragging chairs or benches so they can climb up to grab food from counters, and macaques in Thailand stealing human hair to use as tooth floss. On November 5th, 2021, the Astroworld Festival in Houston, Texas, a rap fest, went horribly wrong when a crowd fueled by drugs and alcohol overwhelmed insufficient concert security and created a crowd crush that cost 8 lives and injured over 300 people. Tragically, various other concerts have ended badly as well. In 2003, a Rhode Island concert by Great White was the scene of a fire that took 100 lives and badly burned another 115. Another infamous concert disaster was the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival in Las Vegas in 2017, when a shooter fired over 1,000 rounds into the crowd, killing 60 people and wounding another 413, with hundreds more injured trying to escape. Finally, a 2017 Ariana Grande concert in England was bombed by an Islamic terrorist, killing 23 and injuring over 1,000. On November 6, 1900, William McKinley was re-elected president of the U.S. with Teddy Roosevelt as his running mate. McKinley was assassinated in 1901, making Teddy president. McKinley's VP from his first term, Garrett Hobart, had died in office in 1899 at the age of 55. If Hobart had not died, he well might have been president. Other VPs who nearly attained the Oval Office include Hannibal Hamlin, Abe Lincoln's VP from his first term, who was replaced by Andrew Johnson for the second Lincoln administration. Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, propelling Johnson to the White House instead of Hamlin. Franklin Roosevelt replaced VP Henry Wallace on the 1944 ticket with Harry Truman, and when FDR died in 1945, Truman, not Wallace, became president. If Spiro Agnew had not been forced to resign in 1973, he, and not Gerald Ford, would have succeeded Richard Nixon as president in 1974 when Nixon resigned. On November 7, 1983, the United States Capitol building was bombed by a female left-wing group calling themselves the Armed Resistance Unit. No people were injured or killed in this act of terror, an act mirrored by bombings by the same group at Fort Leslie J. McNair and the Washington Navy Yard, both in Washington, D.C., although on different days. The point of contention of the radical group was the U.S. involvement in the invasion of Grenada and the U.S. military occupation in Lebanon. The group also planned to murder Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State. The bomb was placed under a bench in a corridor, and the terrorists called in a bomb threat before the explosion. While no structural damage to the building occurred, Damages were estimated at $1 million. After 5 years of investigation, 6 people were arrested for the bombing and 2 were sent to prison. On November 8, 1965, a North Vietnamese force of 1,200 soldiers ambushed 400 of the U.S. Army's 173rd Airborne Brigade west of the Dong Nai River and paid dearly for their disregard of American military prowess. In a search-and-destroy mission called Operation Hump, the U.S. Army was roaming South Vietnam, hoping to find and engage North Vietnamese forces to force a battle that would diminish the Communist forces. As often happened during the U.S. war in Vietnam, it was the Vietnamese that found the Americans first and initiated contact. Although the outnumbered American soldiers were surrounded, the battle resulted in only 49 American deaths and 83 GIs wounded, but between 400 and 700 North Vietnamese soldiers were killed. Why did North Vietnam win the war? On November 9, 1993, the Mostar Bridge, also known as the Stari Most, collapsed due to bombing by Croatian forces in the Croat-Bosniak War of 1992 to 1994. Located in Mostar, the capital of Herzegovina, the bridge was completed in 1566. Too many times historical buildings, structures, or artworks have been lost because of wars. Dating back to 529, and mostly built in the 16th and 17th centuries, the Allies reluctantly bombed the monastery at Monte Cassino, Italy in 1944, suspecting the Germans were using it as a commanding base. Coventry, England was one of the first cities bombed to rubble by airplanes in 1940, including its historic St. Michael's Old Cathedral, built in the late 14th century. Before the U.S. went to war with Afghanistan in 2001, the Taliban ordered the non-Islamic Buddhas of Bamiyan statues destroyed. As a question for my students and subscribers, which event from this past week in history would you most like to learn more about? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History and Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated. For image, audio, and other credits and attributions for components of the individual videos in this compilation, please see the descriptions of their respective videos, which are linked to in this video's description.